What is up, Moose Knuckles? JJ back here from Run Pure Bets with another free pick for you. This time it's going to be in the NFL for Thursday Night Football. Game's going to be played between the Cleveland Browns and the Cincinnati Bengals on Thursday, September the 17th. Current spread is Browns -6, total 43. So as always, I'll start with a quick recap of last week. Edwards-Helaire lands in the end zone to cash that anytime touchdown, but I did lose the first half total by I believe like 3 or 4 points. So cue the tiny violins. Only had 6 cents of vig on that line though. It was -106, so no real harm or foul. And considering both plays were half unit, I actually only lost 3 cents. So look, 1-1 for the video minus the 3 pennies. One thing I want to note though, the total for that game fluctuating all day on Thursday and even, throughout the week as well. Opens 56.5, comes down at 55, and this is the Kansas City game from last Thursday, by the way. And even closes at like 53, 53.5, even 52.5, I believe, at some spots. Game ends up landing on 54, and what does that tell you, right? What I always preach, the importance of the number. If you bet last week's game under from right at open or even up until like an hour before the game started, you would have cashed. But if you bet that under in that hour between right when the game was about to start, you lost getting those, poor numbers there. Remember, it's all about staying disciplined and knowing to pass on bad numbers. We're all going to win and lose in spurts, but getting good numbers long-term is your recipe for sustained success. Okay, so last week, we had 2 people go 4-0 in the comments with their picks. Megan and Andrew Miller from the comments section of last week's Thursday Night Football video. Megan only has one name, though, so she's like the late, great Cher or, McLovin, just classic legends that only had one name. Anyway, great week from those 2. So just shoot our Run Pure Bets Twitter account. Again, it's at Run Pure Bets, and we'll go ahead and fire a t-shirt your way. That was fun, though, so look, let's do that again. Post 4 plays this weekend in the comment section. Any plays you want, just go 4-0, and you will get a t-shirt from us. You could, of course, include the Thursday night game here. Okay, so I will tell you a quick story about my dad, and then we'll get into the play. I haven't talked about him a lot recently, right? So years ago, I go to see him down in Virginia, and I typically see him once or twice a year. Obviously, COVID's kind of slowed that down for me now, but I go see him a few years back, and he's his usual neurotic self, sweating every single game under the sun. He goes, look, so I get there, and he goes, look, I need to get out of the house, clear my head a bit. Let's go to Starbucks, grab a coffee. I'm like, all right, yeah, whatever. Even though I just spent like 4.5 hours driving. So this is where things, though, get odd. I get my coffee quick, just add my milk, and I'm out. He adds like 4 or 6 packets of sugar, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, that much sugar is like poison. He's like, what do you expect me to eat? Splenda? That shit gives cancer to lab rats. I'm like, all right, that's like a bit of a reach. But all right. So I turn around thinking we're about to leave, right? A few seconds later, I turn back, and this dude, his pants are down to his ankles while he's pouring the half and half into his coffee. Mind you, we are in a public Starbucks. Straight ass cheeks out, chilling. I'm like, you, what are you doing? And somehow it was then like he realized that his pants had fallen. I'm like, and also, by the way, dude is straight commando. Like, bro, you're like 55 years old. Have some respect for yourself. I'm like, what is wrong with you? He's like, oh, you're going to think I'm crazy. But I was reading the calories on the half and half, and as I was pouring, didn't even realize my pants fell down. I'm like, what? Legit, he was pantsless for 6 to 8 seconds in a public Starbucks. He's lucky no one was recording it. Like, he could have ended up on one of those, like, Walmart memes. Anyway, on to the player. So, some may call this a battle of the tomato cans. Potentially, though, some young future talent in this one, right? This, of course, assumes you have high hopes for Joe Burrow and even somehow still have high hopes for Baker Mayfield. Nick Chubb has always looked good, and hopefully other pieces to that Browns offense. 2 dysfunctional franchises, though, at least for the last decade or so. The Browns come into this game off a really bad box score against the Ravens. I say box score specifically because there were some bright spots that won't show up in the box score from that game. I'll get into that later, but ultimately, in a league where wins and losses are the truest barometer, both these teams fell short. A loss for the Browns specifically that really, to me, falls on Baker Mayfield. Some of it on Odell with untimely drops and a penalty, but at a critical time. But Baker Mayfield just really struggled in a game that, granted, Ravens defense is great, but he had the offensive line really hold up well for him. Should have been a game he played better in. Anyway, on the other side, the Bengals showed some real promise with the young preseason stud Joe Burrow running the show. Maybe, look, if they don't call that offensive PI on A.J. Green, and, Burrow maybe gets his first dub there. But look, if I had one more testicle, I'd be a walking tripod. Regardless, we can't live life in hypotheticals. I really liked what I saw from him, though. A ruthless Chargers pass rush. And he did a really good job staying composed and even proved that he has like NFL mobility. Like there's a clear distinction, right, between college level and NFL mobility, especially from the quarterback position. And wow, he looked really good running the football. We have such limited data, right? But some takeaways here from both games for me. Baker Mayfield, easily biggest reason why Browns lost that game as bad as they did. And you could argue he's the biggest reason they've been losing since they drafted him. After all, he is the quarterback. So sure, look, Odell enjoys a good dump on his chest. But let's be real here. He's not the reason this team has been losing games, especially going back to last year. A few plays he could make here and there, for sure. But Baker's decision-making just needs to be better moving forward. In the offseason, the Browns bring in Kevin Stefanski as the new head coach, Alex Van Pelt as the new offensive coordinator. Head-scratching hires. But nonetheless, these two will collectively bring a like run-first, play-action type scheme to this team. Now, with that in mind, I'll get to what I really like in this game. So look, don't worry about your blue balls. They won't be blue for too much longer. I said multiple times last week on videos that the Browns used the good old Flex Seal on that offensive line in the offseason. For those that don't know, Flex Seal is that liquid rubber which can stop like leaks in anything. I mean, I still don't know, more of a see it, believe it kind of thing, but it probably would have saved lives when the Titanic hit that iceberg. Anyway, Cleveland really fixed their O-line in the offseason. Now they bring in, Jack Conklin, play right tackle, position, which was a huge issue for them last year. You could even see many times last year Baker kind of like phantom running out to his left, assuming he has pressure to his right. Whether he had it or not, it was just kind of that fear was getting installed in him. Now, they bring in one of the best to seal up that side. And then the first-round draft pick, also on that right side, Jedrick Wills, in the first round. That right side more or less should be solved. So they get blown out by the Ravens. But surprisingly enough, they average 5.1 yards per carry. And the brightest spot of all was the O-line. Pro Football Focus ranked that O-line from left to right. 7th, 1st, 12th, 18th, and 41st best on the week. Quite impressive, especially against a team like the Ravens. Well, now they draw a Bengals squad with a much weaker pass rush. Geno Atkins, Mike Daniels going to be out in that D-line for this game. And they're going to Bengals are going to obviously have to contend with this revamped Browns O-line. If I'm the coaching staff to the Browns for this game, my main takeaway from the Ravens one is the running success they had. Game script got a bit out of hand for us, a bit more of a pass heavier script, and they were still like in neutral spots, like while the game was semi-close. They were still passing a little bit more than I'm sure they would have liked to as they reviewed the tape. But look, Stefanski and Van Pelt, I think are going to have to take an approach here where leaning on the run game. Now they could also take an inverse approach and say, hey, look, let's get Baker and Odell's confidence back. Let's throw a little more into a vulnerable defense. But I'm just not buying that approach. This has to be run first with play action being leveraged for downfield shots. Over the course of the game, I would expect this Browns offensive line to just push this Bengals defense backwards throughout and give Baker plenty of manageable third downs. I feel very confident as long as turnover column stays neutral. The Browns can cover the 6 here. I'm going to be on that for half a unit. Browns minus the 6. Again, sticking to half unit thus far early on. Still a lot of variables to cover. And truly, you don't know. The sample's so small, you don't really know where you truly have a gigantic edge. But I do like the 6 here with them. As I just feel you're going to get a better Browns team in this spot. Now, Baker has to protect the football, though, which goes back to them having that run-first game plan behind that revamped O-line. One more thing to note is that there are some O-linemen questionable for this game on the Browns side, but they all are expected to play. Of course, time will tell regardless, but I do want to mention that. As for the Bengals side, Burrow may be able to muster up some magic, find some of his talented weapons, but this figures to be another game where he's expected to pull a rabbit out of a hat, much like he was trying to do all game long against the Chargers. He almost did it. But this is a shorter turnaround, a team in Cleveland who should be able to put more points up on the board, putting more pressure on that Cincinnati offense. A few player props I like based on what I've already described thus far. I actually like both running backs for the Browns over their current rushing numbers. So Nick Chubb over 69.5, minus 118. And Kareem Hunt over 41.5, minus 112. Both are at DraftKings in New Jersey. I'm going to be on both for half a unit. You've heard me enough about how bullish I am on this run game in this spot. And these two practically share the field, or shared the field anyway. So I can at least hedge one against the other with a shot at hitting both. I look at betting both sides. I look at this like betting almost two sides of a game with a gigantic middle. The risk is so small versus the reward. Play this game out like 1,000 times. How many times are both these backs going to go? Both of them going to go under their totals for the night? Or better question, wouldn't you say that both these props have more than double, maybe even triple the amount of opportunity to go for both to cash versus none to cash? I'd say easily 2 or 3 times. Now, injury is always a concern, but look, if one happens, the other kind of becomes a bell cow, which kind of middles you there, right? Lots of angles where these numbers go over, and I'll play both, hoping to land on them. With each seeing plenty of volume tomorrow. So to recap, look, give me the Browns minus 6 for half a unit. That's over at DraftKings in New Jersey as well. Still playing, again, NFL games for half unit, and it's early. I'm not looking to break the bank. And both Browns running backs over there rushing totals for yards, again, for half unit. So that's 3 total bets. And again, I actually got all those bets at DraftKings in Jersey. I want to thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, thumbs up. Create some fake accounts more. Thumbs up. If you did not enjoy, I hope you fall on a sword. As always, drop comments below, and don't forget about the free t-shirt for going 4-0. Check out our website, onepurebets.com. We'll have plays in a bunch of other sports as well for tomorrow. And look, remember, for the comments, folks, post your plays, guys. This is a safe place. We'll be back with a live show tomorrow to give out more bets and more content all weekend, so stay tuned. I wish you all the best of luck with all your bets. Gamble responsibly and stay safe.